Alright, so I decided to make a video on MEPS, like my experience at MEPS, because before I went I was beyond freaking out and I didn't really know what to expect because there isn't really a lot of videos out there that you can go to and watch about MEPS and what you go through and all that. So, I went on Thursday and Thursday night after I'd taken the ASVAB, and then so I got to the hotel, and then we had a briefing and we were told we had to wake up at 4:45 in the morning, and then so we got assigned my room. I went and met my roommate. She's actually really cool. I was expecting to get an awful roommate that was gonna keep me up all night or two. I don't even know, but she's really cool. And then since we had to wake up at 4:45, I ended up setting my phone alarm for 4:30. She set hers for 4:25. We set the room alarm, and they also called us to wake us up because we wanted to make sure that we were up and that they weren't gonna leave without us or whatever. And then we had to be down at breakfast. Breakfast started at 5. You had to be down there by 5:05, and it ended at 5:25. But nobody really ate that much food for breakfast, even though they had a ton of stuff like eggs, bacon, biscuits, cereal, and coffee, milk, everything you think of. But most people didn't really eat because the day before in the briefing, our lady that was talking to us was like, now in the morning don't eat like too much protein because otherwise protein will show up in your urine test and then you'll get disqualified for that because they'll think your body isn't processing all this stuff. And don't have too much sugar because they'll think the same thing and you're gonna get disqualified. And she said no having sugar after 10 like the night before. So we're all just kind of like freaking out and only took like a couple bites of our food and all drank a whole bunch of water because we knew we were gonna have to do a pee test. So we took the bus to MEPS, which was, I don't know, like a 10-15 minute ride from our hotel. It wasn't really that bad, but there was a ton of us. We all got on a charter bus. And then once we got to MEPS, we split up into like two groups. There was the people who had already gone through all the physical and were just there to pick their jobs, and I don't really know what they did because I was there to physical. So then all of us who were going to physical, we like had to go get our charts by the last 4 digits of our social security number. So know your social security number because you're gonna have to memorize it and look at it and confirm it about 100 times that day. So then we got in another line and we had to wait, and this lady went through and looked at our stuff to make sure everything was good. And then we all went into this room and we got this briefing, and then I think it was just about MEPS. And then after that, and that one was only like 15 minutes, and then after that we had another one. It was the medical briefing, and that was like an hour and a half, and we had a whole bunch of papers that like she would go through and be like, alright, so check yes for this one, check no for this one. If you're taking any medication, put it in here. If you have any allergies, put it in here. If you have a tattoo, you have to fill out a tattoo form. So I had to do that because I have a tattoo, and I just had to write like number 1, and then I wrote my tattoo was, and then it had a picture of like the front of the body and the back of the body, and I had to put the number 1 on the spot where my tattoo is. And I don't like, and then you had to guess the size. I have no idea. It's like that big, and then like, I don't know, yay long. It's the word strength. It was on my shoulder blade. So I just guessed. And then after that, we all got sent out to a sergeant, and he told us where we had to go. So first, I went to the initial interview, and I handed my packet, or folder, whatever you want to call it, to this little doctor. He was like this really old doctor, and like really, really old, and he was like all like shaky, and I thought he wasn't even going to be able to like turn my papers over, like he was that old. Anyway, so he goes through my papers and he like asked me all these questions like, oh, you're allergic to penicillin, okay, what happens when you take it, and all this stuff. And then, oh, you're allergic to this, okay, what happens when you take this, and then, oh, you had surgery on this, okay, asked me questions about that. And then after that I got a little check mark, and then I walked out because there's this little paper that's stapled to the front of your folder, and it says like initial interview, vision test, hearing test, urine test, and all these stuff. And so then after that, I went and I did the vision test, which is really easy. You just have to like look at those little things that like circle dots that's like green, and then the inside will have a number and like little red dots or whatever. And then you also have to do the one that you like, you know, when you get your driver's license and you like stick your head in the thing, and then when like your forehead pushes on this little lever and it makes the light come on, and then you have to like, I don't know, whatever you had to do for that. Well, you had to read a line with numbers on it. And so I did that. And then after that, I went and they drew my blood before that because they had to check for like HIV. And then after that, they took my blood pressure, and that was good. And then I went to the other side and I sat down and I waited for to do my hearing test. And in the hearing test, you go in this little booth that it kind of looks like a cargo container, or at least ours did. And there was like 6 little sections with headphones, little like clicker thing, you know, like you see on game shows, and then like little curtains in between each one so nobody could like see each other and whatnot. And so you sat in there and you put on the headphones, and then there was all these beeps, and every time you heard one, you clicked the button. And then you just, even when you were done, you just sat there until the guy came in and was like, alright, everybody's done, you can come out. So then we went out, and then handed my paper to Sergeant again, and he told me where to go. And so then I was sitting in this front seat, like one of the front seats, along with one other girl. And then we're sitting there waiting, and we're like, okay, I really want to do this pee test because we'd waited all day. Like, it was ridiculous. And then once the other 2 girls came, because there was only like 20 of us all together that actually did the physical, so it really wasn't that bad, and we didn't have to wait that long. But there was only 4 girls that did it. So we're all sitting there, and then we're like, alright, so like they would make this be the last one. They're torturing us because the guys got to do it when they first got there. And then they call us back, and so we had to do that test. And so you like go in the bathroom, and there's a lady in there, but ours just like stood up against the wall, and like we went into the stalls, but you have to keep the stall doors open so that she can watch you, whatever. So then you pee in the cup, and then there's this little window in the bathroom, and then they opened it, and there was a doctor in there, the same one that drew our blood actually. And so he like took this little dish thing, and then he like took this little, first he like poured some of it into this other container so they could check for like marijuana, cocaine, and something else. I don't know, but I don't do drugs, so I didn't have it. And then he takes one of those little like squeezy things and like takes a little bit out, and then he puts it in one of this little tiny circle on the little dish, and he's like, okay, this one is a pregnancy test. And then he takes one of those little strips, like, you know, that you put in like the pool to like test for chlorine, like one of those little strips, and he's like, alright, this is gonna test for like sugars or something in your urine. And I passed both of those, yay! And then so we went out, and then we were waiting, and then we went to go and do the final exam, and that is where we went into this room, and we got down to our bras and underwear. Make sure you wear regular underwear, like regular covering your butt underwear, no thongs. And then we went in there and we did our height and weight, and then after everyone was done with that, we had to wait for like the doctor, and then they had us like do all these really weird exercises, like the duck walk, the famous duck walk everyone talks about. And my feet kept sticking to the floor, but I did it fine. And then had us like have our knees at a 90-degree angle and like kick them down, and I don't know, stand on one foot and hold up the other foot and bend down so they can check your spine. Just all this stuff, and it's really easy. Like, there's nothing to be worried about. And I was worried because a couple weeks ago I got a henna tattoo, and it was on the bottom of my foot, and I was like, oh crap, I don't want to get disqualified because of that. But he didn't see it, or he didn't say anything at least. And then, so after you do all those exercises, then there's like this little room, and you put on these paper gowns that, like, you know, you wear at like the doctor's office, but you have to put it on so like the opening's in the front. And then he calls you into this office, this little exam room, whatever, and you go and you sit on the bed, and he listens to you breathe, listen to your lung, your heart, and then he has you lay back, and they like do like a little like breast examination or whatever, and then you lay back and they do like a gynecological exam, I guess. Like, he pretty much just looks and then he's done. Like, it's legitimately like 10 seconds. It's really not that bad. And then after that, we went out and got dressed, and then we went back out and went over to our final interview, and that's where I had the same really old guy, and he pretty much just checked everything off, and then I was good to go. And then we went out and ate lunch, and it was like maybe 11 o'clock. Like, we got done really early. There wasn't a whole bunch of waiting because there wasn't that many of us. And then after that, we went back to like your specific Army, Air Force, Marines, whatever. And then I met with my job counselor guy, and that's when I picked the job that I wanted. And I was supposed to be in his reserves, but I didn't really want to be in reserves. I was just doing it because there wasn't any jobs that I wanted from my like practice test scores, but when I took the actual test, my scores were so much higher. So I ended up getting to switch from from reserves to active duty, and I got the job I wanted, which was a 68 whiskey. So it's healthcare specialist, aka medic. And so like, if you're in reserve, or if you're going as reserves, but you actually want like active duty, or vice versa, like, don't be afraid to ask them like if you can look at those jobs, because they'll let you, but then you have to talk to your recruiter and have them okay it that you can switch. But I was really nervous beforehand because I didn't want something that I didn't want, because I mean, it's my life, you know. So stick to your guns. Like, so many people told me, just like, you know, stick to your guns. If this is the job you want, then stick to it. So after that, then I was sitting there, and the job liaison looks at me and he's like, "Do you want to jump out of planes?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, that'd be awesome." So he was like, "All right, take this form, go to medical, and tell them you want your airborne like status paper." And I was like, "Okay." So I went in there, and then I had to like check all these boxes, and then I had to take it back to the doctor, and he looked at it, and then he signed off on it. So I took it back, and I ended up I get to go airborne, like, and it's gonna be in my contract, which is really cool. And then after that, we sat around for a little bit. This was where most of the waiting was. And then we ended up going and swearing in. I swore in at like the 2 o'clock like little swear-in ceremony, and I didn't have my parents there because that morning, like, first of all, I didn't think I was gonna make it all the way through, and then second, the lady that was like briefing us told us that for active duty you swear in that day, and then the day you ship out you also swear in. So if you're doing active duty and like you don't know, like, and you want your parents to be there, and she also told us have them come to the final ceremony before you leave, because, you know, then they can take pictures and it's more like emotional because it's right before you leave basic training. But I mean, they can come to both. Nobody brought their parents to that one though. But we stood there, and then we learned how to do like parade rest, and then like stand at attention, and then the guy came in and we took the oath. I solemnly swear, you know, that oath. And then we went back in the room, and like that we were in beforehand, and we all sat at a desk, and then we had to go to the computer and like put our fingerprint in, and that like sealed the deal, signed the paper, and then we shook his hand, and then we were free to go. So it's really not that bad. But if you have any questions, please feel free to, you know, comment, leave me a message, whatever, and I'll try and answer your questions if you have any more. So, thanks.